So we're up in Alabama. We're hunting in Alabama, and I'm sitting in the shooting house, and I see a couple does. Don't really end up shooting anything. But my dad is down at the south end of the property, and he's got the 4-wheeler, and that's my ride home pretty much. And so it's dark. I've got a headlamp, and so I kind of walk the path back to the main road, main thoroughfare there that we drive on. And at this point, it's pitch black. I mean, there's no light pollution. It's just stars, and there's no moon out. So I'm guessing new moon is the phase that it would be. But you could consider this advanced darkness, is what I like to call it. But I'm standing there, and my headlight goes out. I get to the road, thankfully. I get to the road, and I'm standing there. And, you're just waiting to hear, because it's so silent, and you're just waiting to hear the sound of that 4-wheeler crank up and the headlights coming towards you. And my dad, he's got a really nice scope, so he can hunt. I'm not saying he would ever shoot anything past legal shooting hours, but he's got a nice
Aside
scope
from
that'll
beavers.
certainly. Beavers are a different scenario completely. So he usually, he'll sit a couple more minutes than I will typically. And my headlamp goes out, and so it's pitch black. And all I hear is this noise that it's almost like when a coyote howls, but if it was a bear, you know what I'm saying? It had the kind of the deep roar of a bear, but it was long and drawn out, kind of like a coyote. And it was a Bigfoot, man. I promise you it was. I was 80% sure that Bigfoot was alive and well, the species in general. But when I heard that, and listen, I've watched a lot of shows finding Bigfoot things. I don't know why you're laughing so much, man. I've been encircled by coyotes before. They're loud. There's one in front of you, then one behind you, then off to the sides. They kind of circle you, try to get downwind. But this was just one, and it was off in the woods, and it was deep, and it was drawn out. I'm telling you, man, it was a dang Bigfoot. Before that instance, I was 80% sure that they were living among us, and I am now 1,000% sure that they are, or at least this subspecies, I guess the lower Alabama Sasquatch. But yeah, I just wanted to share that because it's really been something I haven't shared it with too many people because I thought people would laugh at me like you are now. But I said, look, I've got a platform now. I'm going to talk about it. And yeah, that's all I can say is the lower Alabama Sasquatch is alive and well, and their population is growing, is what I believe.
Yeah, I mean, first off, that takes a lot of courage to share publicly, so I appreciate that, and I want to celebrate that with you. The old Lower Alabama Sasquatch, the LAS, as they call them. Is there a size differential than, say, the Northern California Sasquatch, the NCS?
I don't know if there's a size difference. They may be a little bit more girthy, I imagine the Northern California Sasquatch, they're eating a lot of grapes. They're kind of living high on the hog. The Lower Alabama Sasquatch is eating a lot of Conecuh sausage, which I respect so
Processed
much,
already, or are they just taking the pigs, or what?
Oh yeah, I think they go to the back door at the Conecuh factory. They're keeping the secrets there. You know what I mean? They just feed them straight out of there. So,
Now, here's a question. In your Bigfoot research, how were Bigfoots created? Has there always been a Bigfoot? Were Bigfoots evolved in this from something like that of a dinosaur? What have you found as far as the creation of Bigfoot?
No, I don't think that. I don't think they evolved from anything. I know a lot of people believe that, hey, we evolved from monkeys, and somewhere along the way, you know, the Bigfoot is an offshoot from the Neanderthal or whatever. I don't believe that. I think the Lord put him here when he put the rest of the species on the earth.
So there were big feet on the ark.
I believe so. I mean, he doesn't, you look at the scripture, he doesn't mention every single goat, zebra, everything else, that'd take too long, frankly. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Noah's rolling deep with some Bigfoots.
So I'm just thinking, how did Bigfoot get from the ark to Lower Alabama? How long was that journey?
That's a great question. I think it's got to be, the land bridge, right? Up there between Alaska and Russia. I mean, that's where they think a lot of the indigenous folks came over. I think big feet, Bigfoots, multiple Sasquatches. I think they probably came along the same land bridge. That would be my hypothesis. At least I feel like we could have Jesse Dieterle on the podcast, and he would have a more scholarly answer to it. But that's currently the belief that I hold.
Well, I'll tell you, there's been video evidence of big feet in Chile. There was a helicopter flying around, and they captured some photographic evidence of Bigfoot, a Sasquatch. Growing up, I thought there was only one in the world, and he lived Camp Koyanania.
Oh, no, there's a bunch. I mean,
but my eyes have been open.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of people that they fake the videos and stuff, and it's disappointing because I think they kind of diminish the public's view of people that have legitimately experienced Bigfoot sightings or hearings. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm a member of the BFRO, which is the Bigfoot Field Research Organization. I think it's like $20 a year of the annual dues, so it's really pretty minimal. But it comes with like a ton of resources. But yeah, that's my little plug in there as well.
Can we include them in the show notes?
Yeah, sure, of course.
I think that'd be valuable for our listeners. And what are your thoughts? Because while you were telling your story, and it sounded like this Bigfoot, Lower Alabama Sasquatch, saved you from a pack of coyotes.
Right? Oh no, I was just saying I was differentiating the sound.
Oh.
Like I know what it sounds like, and I know that wasn't a pack of coyotes. Like I know what it was. That's all I was saying.
What does
if he did save
Bigfoot
me,
sound like? If you don't mind sharing,
I would love to do that impersonation, but unfortunately, my son is asleep, about 15 feet behind me. The wall behind me. So, maybe for our subscriber only content, we can do a little. That's what we should do. We should go camping one night and go searching for some squatches.
Yeah, some Lower Sarasota, the LSS.
Look, we got Mayaca State Park has got some swampland, and there's some swamp squatches, and it's a squatchy area. Seriously, it really is. So we can go back there and camp, and
it's right for the squatching.
Yeah, we can do some howls and knocks and see if we get anything to answer us.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff. Um, I'm excited, and our subscribers are excited as well.
I sure hope
So
so.
tell me, after that encounter, how has the past 7 days been?
Well, really, my life is kind of split into two different time segments, right? There's before Sasquatch, BS is what I like to call it. Everything before Sasquatch was BS. That's kind of that's my thinking, at least. Um, and then after Sasquatch, so now I'm living in this kind of world where I'm just wanting to get some other sort of interaction with the Bigfoot species. But this particular week, obviously, we had Valentine's Day, which is always fun. I feel like that was Wednesday, and really, it's unfortunate when Valentine's Day falls on a weekday because you feel like you can't really properly celebrate it. At least that's my thinking. I love to cook on Valentine's Day because I don't really cook ever. So, I like to say, hey, Molly, go hang out, go watch some TV. I'll cook dinner. I'll make something nice. We'll have a good time. And so Valentine's Day was on Wednesday. So after work, I went and got some flowers from Detweiler's because they're on the way home from my job site. And yeah, that was Wednesday. I think we had leftovers. We ate leftovers by the pool. So it wasn't like super romantic or anything, but it was just kind of a classic Wednesday night. And I just bought flowers. But in preparation for my Friday night meal, which is we were going to celebrate Valentine's Day on Friday night, I leave work. I go to Detweiler's, which is a local grocery store. And I know your father has mentioned he's been in there a couple times. He stated there's no experience like shopping at a Detweiler's, and it's the truth. That's the truth. I think he said it's his favorite store of all. Like, there's people that yodel. I think it's got some Amish background to it, but it's packed. There's hundreds of people in there. It's loud. They get over the microphone and they're like, for the next 20 seconds, we're doing a deal on flank steak. Let's go. And people just make a mad dash to the butcher to get the dang flank steak. It's a wild experience. And so
That's pretty fun. That's actually
yeah.
a brilliant strategy.
It's good, man. And your dad was a huge fan of that, as you can imagine.
We should do a vlog in there.
Oh, yeah. Next time you come down, we'll do a whole weekend and just vlog it up.
Just spend the whole weekend in Detweiler's.
Yeah. But yeah, I went in there and I was getting, I got some steak and some asparagus, spinach, things to go with steak. And so one interesting interaction, this time of year, we've got a ton of snowbirds that come down because we're in season now. That's what they call it. And you can just tell with the traffic when they all get there. It's like they've got I don't know if it's a Facebook group or what, but they're like, hey, we're going down this weekend and we're going to be there for a few months. Let's all go now, But it's always fun to kind of watch the older folks interact, especially when they're from up north. There was one guy who was pushing a cart and I was walking behind him. And there was another guy standing at the banana, counter, whatever. And the guy with the cart is walking up to the banana cart. And the dude who's standing there turns and is like afraid. He like jumps back as if he was about to get hit by the dude's cart. And he wasn't. And he just looks at the dude and goes, Jesus. And then just walks away. I was like, oh my gosh. What is your deal? First off, why are you using the Lord's name in vain like that? Second off, why are you so scared about getting hit by a dang cart? So I chuckled out loud whenever he did that, and he was a few feet away. But honestly, it's with that whole population, it's just kind of fun to sit back and watch. But yeah, I got the steaks. Sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent here.
I love your tangents.
Got the steaks. Made asparagus, like I said. Made creamed spinach, which was just chef's kiss. It's so good. The steaks I did in a cast iron skillet, where you 2 minutes, you get it real hot, get some butter and some olive oil in there. The oil helps to bring the smoke point up, so it just doesn't burn the butter. 2 minutes, sear on each side, then stick that bad boy in the oven. And Molly, I think for Christmas or my birthday, she got a thermometer that you just put in the meat and leave. I guess it's Bluetooth or whatever. And so it says, "Hey, it's medium rare. Pull it out now." And so I pulled it out, and I made some compound butter, garlic and herb, and I put that bad boy on there, covered it with tin foil, and let it rest. And it was probably the best steak I've ever made. I think I've got some tweaks to make on it to make it better, but the compound butter, if you've never used that when you're making steak, it's a game changer, legitimately.
Would you mind doing a video tutorial on the compound butter for our listeners later this week?
I don't know about this week. Maybe I could, but I'm telling you this, dude. I had to finally dice 3 different types of herbs, bro. It took me an hour. I'm so bad at chopping vegetables. I had to zest a small lemon, and my hands were hurting from dicing for 30 minutes, so I went and zested a small lemon and then came back to the parsley to finally dice that. I was like, there's got to be a better way of doing this, man. It needed 2 tablespoons, and it took so much to make 2 tablespoons. I was over there, my hand was just freaking cramped up so bad. It was pitiful, brother, but we got through it.
You probably told Molly whenever you first started, "Hey, dinner's going to be ready in about 40 minutes. And Molly, after you finished 2 3-hour movies, "Hey, what's the update?" And you have
She's watching Lord of the Rings.
"I'm working on the butter still."
No, it was legitimately like, so I got off work at 3 because I went in early, and I was able to get off early. Got home probably around 4, legitimately, and she gets home at 4. I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna prep everything, and then after Stetson goes to bed, then I'll do the steak and finish everything off." So asparagus is easy, olive oil, salt, and pepper. And I was like, let me make this compound butter, because the website said, hey, it's a 12-minute prep time. I was like, oh, easy, dude. Let me just set this butter out to soften, and I'll quickly mince up these herbs. Wrong, dude, wrong. It took so long. It was probably 6:15 before I finished the compound butter, and I still had the dang creamed spinach to go. So whenever I was putting Stetson down, Molly stepped in and made the creamed spinach. I had already prepared all the ingredients, gotten them portioned out, so all she had to do was kind of dump it in the bowl. But oh goodness, it was I got to work on my chopping skills. That's so my takeaway.
If you're mincing vegetables, why don't you just gather them together and just chop?
Well, you have to do 2 tablespoons. If it said, hey, get a handful of garlic, or no, not garlic, but if it said, hey, get a handful of chives and chop them up, that'd be easy. But it said tablespoons, and I wanted to measure and be exact. Because when I measure with my heart, things go poorly. So I cut them up and I measured them, and it was good, but dadgummit, it took a long time. I just don't want to cut my finger is the big thing. I'm scared of that.
Bear in the cave at all times,
Yeah. I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that the whole time.
And Jackson was chopping. Jackson was chopping the other day, and he didn't have his bear in the cave. He actually had all his cave was undone. He was just he had his bear out, and there was no cave. And I
Bear,
got
no
concerned.
cave. Dang. Well,
And then he cut off his fingertip. So, lesson learned.
that's what you get, Mr. Bear. Um, I'm gonna speed up. I didn't start the clock, so I have no clue where we're at. But I'm gonna
We
speed
have
up.
plenty of time. Our listeners are so grateful that we are on your week right now.
Yeah. And then the last thing was Saturday. I kind of woke up around 6:45, and I was like, "Hey, can I go hit some balls at the range?" You know, she had a baby shower at 10:30, I think. And I was like, I'm going to be watching Stetson. Can I go to the range for an hour and a half? And she very graciously said yes. So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, went and hit some balls. I had to kind of sort out my irons. I don't know why, but my irons have just been hitting so poorly. And then I get there and they say, hey, it's mats only today. Of course, after I buy the bucket, they get your money. And then they say, hey, it's mats only on a Saturday morning. That makes a lot of sense. So I wasn't happy about that. But it was good to get out, get some exercise, get some swings in. I feel like I dialed them in a little bit, but I've got to get out there on the actual grass and see what's wrong, see what's going on. But that was Saturday morning, and then Saturday night, I went out with some buddies, with Todd and Jacob. We went to Yard House, which is a newish restaurant at UTC, and then we went and got some cigars after that. So it was really a fantastic Saturday night. And then church this morning, and it's been kind of rainy and chill all day today. So.
I mean, what a beautiful end to the week. You get to spend time with your family. You get to share a meal with one another and celebrate love. You get to go hit balls on the range. You get to spend more time with your family. You get to spend time with the brethren. Then you don't forget, you don't neglect to gather with one another on Sunday. That sounds like a win to me.
This week was a huge win. I'll say that. Very, very good week. Top tier.
Oh, and how could it not be,
Well, I feel like I've set up, my week being so good. I'd love to hear how yours lived up,
Yeah, and quite frankly, I'd love to share. On Monday, so Upward ended last Monday. All right, so what do we do? Well, I got to find a new way to spend my Mondays in an intentional way. I don't want to just come home. Well, actually, the flesh part of me does want to come home and just not do anything. But the kingdom part of me, the Holy Spirit inside of me says, no. Spend your time doing something advancing the kingdom rather than sitting on your couch. That's a sidebar, but it also helps me explain what I did Monday. Monday, I'm going to pickleball, right? 5:30 right after work. Well, Monday it starts raining, and also on Monday I'm thinking, man, I would love an excuse to not go to pickleball. And so what do? I use the rain as my excuse to not go to pickleball. And while it was a good excuse that I would go out there and no one would be there because the courts are literally soaked, my motivation and desire to go play pickleball was diminished, and that's the problem. All right, so that was my Monday. Uneventful Monday. But it did help me gear up for Tuesday, in which we taught Life Group, Acts 17. Oh my goodness, following the journey of Paul through Thessalonica, Berea, and then Greece, Athens. And the Mars Hill, or Areopagus as I like to call it, but the scholars call it Areopagus. It's a hill where the philosophers went and did all their thinking, like, oh, I'm intelligent, and this is how the world exists. This is the point of the world. Paul goes up there and says, this is the point of the world. God sent his son all the way from creation. He created a perfect garden. Adam and Eve messed up that garden, so God sent his son to redeem and restore the world. That was Acts 17. It was a great, great discussion. I just love that. I just love the life group. You know, if our listeners, by the way, if our listeners, you're not involved in a life group or a Bible study or some sort of thing that's a small group of people, of believers wanting to learn more about the Lord, this is the moment to seize the opportunity. You know, the opportunity is right in front of you. It's up to you to take it. Onward. Wednesday rolls around. You know what Wednesday is? You've discussed this. It's Valentine's Day. Now, many people ask me, how have I spent my Valentine's Day this past Valentine's Day, the 14th of February? And, you know, many people also say, Beau, there's this lovely woman outside that you need to go to dinner with. And I tell them, look, give me a second. And then this other person walks up and says, Beau, there's another lovely woman outside that you need to go to dinner with. Celebrate Valentine's Day. All right. So those are two opportunities that I did not take advantage of because I have something much greater on my schedule. Do you know what that is?
I don't, unfortunately. Oh, yes, I do. Angels, Demons in the Unseen World.
Angels, Demons in the Unseen World. Wow! What a beautiful moment. Richie Baldwin taught this class. And there's a reason I write things in a journal, is so I can remember them. And you know where that journal is? It's at the church. So quite frankly, it's been a longer day, and my mind isn't recalling what all went on that Wednesday night. But just know, we celebrated Valentine's Day in an honorable and holy way.
And if it was coming from old brother Richie, you know it's going to be good. Because he brings the hammer.
He brings the hammer, as some call it.
What was it, the gospel hammer? Do you remember that?
No.
In London?
I'm thinking, so we're in Exodus. We're studying Exodus. And there's a lot of verbiage that's talking about staffs. And today, well, along the lines of Richie bring the hammer, I was going to say Richie brings... For some reason, my mic keeps cutting out. What I was going to say is Richie brings the rod of God.
He does. He does do that, man.
Can you hear me? I'm having technical difficulties.
I can hear you now. That's better. You were talking about Richie and the hammer.
Oh, yes. So that was great. Angels, Demons in the Unseen World. And you know what I figured out? I think I've been calling it wrong this whole time. I've been saying Angels, Demons in the Unseen Realm. But in fact, it is Angels, Demons in the Unseen World. All right. Onward. That was a great Wednesday. Thursday rolls around. What's Thursday? That's the 15th of February. I'm out there. I'm playing a little tennis, doing a little tennis act. How could I forget Wednesday evening after Angels, Demons, and the Unseen World at 8 p.m. on Valentine's Day? I gather with my friend Kevin, who is our Zach Allen connection, who Zach Allen bailed on us that one time. Shout out Zach Allen.
He's bailed on us every episode since. Let's get real. He's avoiding.
Well,
he knows it's going to be so uncomfortable. He just keeps avoiding
correct.
it. What he doesn't know is
Precise.
it's going to get worse and worse and worse exponentially every episode he misses. So I hope he
Correct.
hears this and heeds my warning.
I'll have him heed it. So I'm playing tennis with Kevin. That's fantastic. Fantastic way to close out the Valentine's Day. It was a great match. Great movement. Oh my goodness. I'm forgetting all these things about Valentine's Day. Evan Haynes and I in the morning. You're noticing a trend. I'm spending my Valentine's Day with a lot of men. 3 men in particular. But I don't want you to get the wrong.
Dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't ask, don't tell. That's my creed, brother.
But we went on our 6-mile journey on Valentine's Day at 5 a.m. that Wednesday. So it was a great kickoff walking through that. Then, in the middle, we learned about angels and demons in the unseen world. And to bookend the Valentine's Day, we played tennis. So, onward to Thursday. This is when I play tennis again. Then I go to pickleball. So it's like a tennis pickleball matchup. And that was fantastic. Friday rolls around. That's my day off. Friday was so good. I don't know if I left the house. No, I did. What I did was I played pickleball. How could I forget?
You'd insert that any day of the week. You're just like, oh, I played pickleball. It's a
Well,
solid guess.
I'm trying to get out in the community, meet some new faces, be missional in my efforts. That's just something that's been convicting me is how am I spending my time? Is it honoring the Lord, or am I sitting on my couch twiddling my thumbs when I could be going out and advancing the kingdom? These are the questions that the Lord has brought upon myself. So that was good. Onward to Saturday. I go into work. I'm setting up some things, mounting things on the wall. Then I receive a new item. Let me share with you one thing. This is going to be too much information. I just want to give a warning to our listeners. But I'm walking into the restroom. All right. It's a single bathroom. All right. I don't know why I'm sharing this, but I've already started. So
You're in too deep. You're in too deep.
I have to
now.
share this. So I'm walking in the bathroom, single bathroom, and the toilet lid's closed. So I open the toilet lid. And much to my surprise, there was an object left in the toilet bowl.
Big mega turd. Let's get it real.
But you need to hear this next part. It was only the object. There was nothing else in there.
That's a straight drive-by, man.
So someone is walking around the church.
Oh gosh.
Oh man.
Is this in
It
the
was pretty
office
special.
bathroom?
I will not name the location.
Oh, I guess it could have been the family bathroom. Either way, that's pretty sickening, man. There's some real sickos on this earth with us, man.
Yeah, I think I gagged a little bit. But anyway, that brought us to Sunday. Sunday, we're talking about, like we said, Exodus, salvation, God's rod, the staff, etc. And it's a picture. You know what about the Nile River? You know about the Nile River? You ever heard of that?
Yeah, there's crocs.
Crocodiles on the Nile River, yeah. All right, you know about Israel.
Yep.
All right.
I know about
have
it.
you heard of Egypt?
Yeah. I know Egypt.
What about Moses? Have you heard of Moses?
Yeah, once or twice.
Do you know what Moses was called to do by the Lord?
He was called to do a lot of things, but I think the overarching thing that he was called to do is lead the people, the Israelites, out of Egypt, out of the hands of the Pharaoh.
Yeah. Precise. And the message today, there's a visual, of course. There's a lot of visuals, actually. I'm going to spend about 2.5 minutes on this because I think it's worth it. But as soon as we hit that 2.5 minute, you cut it off. We see an image of the Nile River in Egypt, all right? Everything, if you do a satellite image at night, the only lights in Egypt are along the Nile River because that's their main water source. So everything is kind of feeding through the Nile River. Then you see lights across a desert, a wilderness, if you will. There's a big patch of wilderness, and then you see more lights, and that's Israel. Now, if we back up to Exodus 3, we see Moses in the burning bush. We see Moses in the staff and the serpent and the snake. Well, what is the picture of the staff and the snake that God said, lay down your staff, it turns into a snake. Now pick up the snake by its tail. Well, why would we pick up a snake by its tail? We wouldn't, because the snake can just turn around and bite you real nice. You pick up the snake by its head, but he said pick up the snake by its tail. And he picked up the snake by its tail, and it turned back into the staff. That is a picture of God's power. But when we look at the Nile River, what's windy?
Snakes.
Snakes. All right. The Nile River would represent that serpent. Israel would represent that promised land. What is in between those two things? The wilderness. All right. God leads Moses to lead the people from this Nile River / Egypt / the serpent through the wilderness in order to deliver them to the promised land. And it got me thinking. To get from the Nile River to the promised land, one, you have to be willing. You have to be willing to go through the wilderness. You have to be willing to trust in the Lord's plan for your life. And I just thought that was a beautiful image that was shown of Nile River, desert, promised land. And it's what Moses led them through. So geographically, I thought it was cool to see that. That is the end.
You're about 15 seconds short, so well done.
Thank you very much. I practiced 4 times before we started recording this podcast.
I'm sure. Well, it sounds like an excellent week. Is that the conclusion of it?
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Do you know what we're at time-wise?
We have 20 minutes.
Oh, great. Let's hit sports.
Yeah. Let's hit it.
Why don't you go first on sports?
All right. I just want to throw out a scenario here. Have you been watching any of the NBA All-Star Weekend type stuff?
Nope.
That makes sense because no Grizzlies are an all-star.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
Ja, his shoulder's jacked up, so
yeah, yeah. Guns got too heavy for him. the So the dunk contest, I was watching it last night. If I could describe it in 6 letters, I would say BORING.
I had a feeling that was coming.
What are your thoughts on how do we improvise and improve the dunk contest? Because quite frankly, it hasn't been the same since people like that of Spud Webb and maybe even Dwight Howard were on the leading edge of the dunk contest. But ever since about 2005, it's been pretty poor.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like any dunk contest I've seen, there's been like a handful of creative and innovative dunks, but for the most part, it's kind of recycled stuff from 2, 3 years back. Um, I feel like ever since Dr. J dunked from the free throw line, I think that was in a game. I don't even know if that was in a dunk contest or not, but I feel like there's really been nothing like it since. I mean, a lot of them just bring out celebrities. Hey, I'm going to jump over this K-pop band and dunk the ball. It's like, all right, you could have gotten literally anyone up. Anyone in the NBA can jump over 5 Koreans and dunk the ball. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it certainly takes some creativity, but there's so many rounds that you're going to get some repeats every single year. And, yeah, for that reason, I'm out when it comes to the dunk contest.
Yeah. I think the NBA, they should get rid of it. I think that's the best option. Not the NBA, the dunk contest.
No, well, yeah, I think All-Star Weekend is really just the Pro Bowl in the NFL and All-Star Weekend for basketball. I think All-Star Weekend for baseball is pretty fun, but yeah, those two games should probably just be eliminated.
I'm going to disagree. And here's why. Dunk contest, yes. All right. Pro Bowl games, yeah, they're not that fun. But the NBA within the past couple of years has changed their All-Star game format to where it's basically you're going for a score. So if it's the first one to 40 points wins that round, basically, rather than 4 quarters of just scoring. So it makes it a little more game winner pickup basketball type, which I find to be quite fun and interesting because there's a little more competition. But 4 years ago, whenever it was just, let's score 500 points and play around and eat waffles, I could be watching Below Deck. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
I didn't know they changed it up, honestly, because years ago I watched one and I said, well, this is silly. The score is 300 to 295. And they're doing, it's like the dang Harlem Globetrotters B team out there trying to do all this silly stuff. But I didn't know they changed the format, so maybe I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, you do that, man. The other thing I saw and I wanted you to talk about to me was golf is starting to heat back up. And when golf heats up, man, oh man, I just have a desire for my legs to go out on the course. And there's a big Genesis Invitational round. Were you able to watch any of that this weekend?
I was. Yeah. There was, obviously it just wrapped up a few hours ago and I watched the end of it. Tiger is he kind of plays host to this whole tournament. And he was playing in it. I think it was the first time he played since maybe the middle of last season. But I think he made the cut, but he ended up getting the flu on Saturday and had to withdraw, which is so sad, honestly. Um, but the winner of the Genesis this week was Hideki Matsuyama. He was like 6 strokes behind starting Sunday morning, this morning. And I want to say he tied the course record. I think he shot a 62 or something like that. But it was just on holes 15 and 16. It's a par 4 and a par 3. And so on 15, he goes and his second shot, I don't know, it's probably 170 yards out. Plays it real aggressive right over this bunker, spins it around. He's got kind of this, I don't know how they do it, but they put side spin on the ball. So as soon as it hits the green, it shoots out to the left, puts it literally 6 inches from the hole, tap in birdie. Next hole is a par 3 from the tee box. Again, 6 inches from the hole, tap in birdie. And that was a string of like 4 or 5 birdies in 6 holes there. And he just absolutely shot up the leaderboard. And it didn't help that the other people, Patrick Cantlay and a few other guys were in front of him, and they kind of sputtered out there on the back nine. But he finished with a strong Sunday, and obviously it paid off. I think the purse is like 20 mil. I don't know how much he got of that, but it was definitely an impressive showing.
Yeah. Hideki. Just clutch Gene. Just an absolute beast. And I'll be honest, Patrick Cantlay plays a little slow for my taste. So
and
I
also
don't mind watching him.
Who, Hideki or Patrick? Oh, Patrick. Yeah, Hideki, man, he's all business, right? I mean, obviously after he wins, like you see whenever he won the Masters, anybody who wins the Masters, you're just, overcome with emotion. He's hugging his caddy, he's crying. I don't think he cried today, but just when you're tied, you're the co-leader, and then your second shot to set you up for a tap-in birdie is like 6 inches from the hole, and he was just stone cold. Then the par 3, he hits it so close. Once again, stone. It was like, I got 2 more holes to play. I got to finish this thing out. So it was really pretty impressive, because if I hit that shot, I'd be losing myself. So, but yeah, that was cool to see. And then the other sport I wanted to touch on was college baseball is back. This is opening weekend. Obviously, the weather here in Florida hasn't really panned out for a lot of teams. A lot of folks do, kind of opening weekend tournaments in like South Florida and things like that. Obviously, the Gators are playing in Gainesville, so a lot of them got their Saturday and Sunday games completely rained out because we've just been getting a monsoon the past 48 hours. But yeah. Florida lost the season opener to St. John's by like 4 runs. So that's fun, especially when you're ranked number 2 in the country. So I'm sure they'll pick it back up, but it's a little sad to see them come out flat, especially the way that they ended it last year. You'd think there'd be a pretty big hunger to get off to a fast start. But that's the way baseball is, I mean, you have one off night. The pitching didn't look great. You make a few bad pitches and they make you pay for it. It's a pretty big lead you got to overcome. So,
was it Caglione on the mound?
No, it was Cade Fisher, I believe.
Yes,
I think he's a junior.
The guy that got them to the College World Series.
Oh, he's had some clutch outings the past year or two. I think he's a junior. But I think we've got our Saturday starter is going to be. He's a true freshman, and I'm excited to see because he's a pretty highly touted recruit. But obviously, once you get up playing big boy baseball, it'll be interesting. So,
yeah, that's exciting. Well, I wanted to take a moment to really thank someone. We've been promoting subscriber-only content for quite some time now, and we have had one subscriber, Josiah Wilson Poole, who has been generous enough to subscribe to our content, to which he actually thanks us for our generosity of providing him that content. So it's a real two-way street there of pure, unadulterated generosity. And when I think of who else might subscribe, we actually received one more. So now we have 2 subscribers. So let's just give a moment to say thank you. Thank you. Well, this person has not said we could share their name, but I will share their initials. VSM. VSM, thank you so much for your generosity. Without you, we would not be making $5 a month on this podcast.
It's true.
Oh, man.
And I think, look, I mean, for $2.99 a month, it's a good business decision. You know what I mean? For anybody who understands the value, time, value, money, and all that good stuff, it's a wise investment. And it seems like, I mean, these are Josiah, very, very smart man, VSM, very, very smart. It's been proven time and time again. Look, I think if you're a listener and you see all these smart folks jumping on the train, you got to think to yourself, what am I not seeing here? But yeah, thanks to both of the subscribers. And if you're not a subscriber, all I got to say is get on the train, because it's leaving the station quick. You know what I mean? Not really. I mean, we'll be at the station for a while, but we'd love for you to jump on the train.
Yeah, we want you to think that the train is leaving the station so you'll subscribe sooner.
Right.
Because, quite frankly, we want to serve you through this extra content. You said something about smart people and how they're smart making decisions, but I want to be clear that they're not these intellectual types that we see on Areopagus and Mars Hill trying to define what the world means. No. These two already know what they're doing on this earth, and they've used that knowledge to then give generously to this podcast. So take that into consideration as well as you're pondering, and as Brett Shore loves to say, pontificating upon your decision making. But boy, I am stoked would be one word to describe it. Excited would be another, about the direction that this podcast is moving in.
Oh, me as well. I think it's just, you look at the vlogs. I don't put the vlogs together. I help film them, obviously, but you're the mastermind behind, creating. You're the real Christopher Nolan of compiling all these videos together into the vlog. But I just have such a fun time doing it, and we just get to kind of cut up and goof around, and I love watching the videos afterwards, and it's exciting to see that more and more people are wanting to be involved in that. So,
yeah. And you never know, we're going to start releasing some songs on our subscriber-only content, some little decision-making tips. How do I public speak in a group of pregnant women?
Mm-hmm.
These are all quite handy, practical, real-life skills we all need.
And look, just like we did the golf vlog with Josiah, we'll have to honor our second subscriber, VSM. I don't want to give away any other details about their life, but they are certainly invited to come on the Sasquatch hunt vlog if they would like. And, I think it'd be a great time, honestly. I think they would fit right into that video creation, that vlog. So VSM, you know who you are, and you're invited. It's an open invite, and we can get out there and get squatchy,
I think their Squatch call will be the one that brings the Squatch. I think they've practiced this many times before.
Only one way to find out. And that's just subscribe and watch the video,
Precisely. Well, I just wanted to take that time to thank you.
One thing that I've been kind of pondering whenever I lay my head down at night and I look up at the ceiling, and I've got this alarm clock that kind of shines a projection up onto the ceiling. So I just kind of watch the minutes pass by and pass by and pass by, and I think about my life ahead of me and the life behind me, kind of where I'm at personally. And then I feel the sheets that I'm laying in, and I say, what if someone came up to me and said, hey, your sheets, they have to be a deli meat? And I want to kind of propose that question to you. What deli meat would you prefer that your sheets be? Because there's a lot of different ways to take this.
There are. And that's a great question. That'll make you think. But the one that immediately hits my mind and brings a sense of comfort and peace and just fulfillment, if you will allow me to use that word, is hot pastrami. You get a little, it's a different taste than normal ham, turkey, roast beef. And the warmth, it gives you that comfort because, of course, your fan's going to be rolling around. You're going to have it a little chilly. And in my experience, hot pastrami has been a little oily. And you know what they say about oils in bed? They say the more oils you have on your body as you sleep, the more nurtured you are throughout the night.
And I think it exfoliates as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a 2-in-1 or even 3-in-1 purpose sheet.
Man,
how about you?
I think hot pastrami is great. One of my superintendents that I used to work with, every time we would go to lunch to this New York style deli, he would get hot pastrami on rye with spicy deli mustard. And man, it was so good. And I could certainly, they really mounded it up there. I could certainly see me, kind of sliding my body in between that and staying warm all night. I would say mine has got to be honey-baked ham. Like ham, but honey-baked ham is just the height of all meats, deli meats especially. Maybe not meats overall, but out of deli meats, it's dang so good, dude. And I think the best part, the real winner, would be, you get in bed and you go to pull that end of your sheet up, like right there under your neck, so that your shoulders and your, everything's nice and warm. That's where that little crust would be, where they get the flamethrower and they pack the brown sugar on and they flamethrower that junk on. That crust or that rind would be right there on your neck. And you could just, just kind of in the middle of the night, you probably wouldn't even know you're doing it. But that's my favorite part of a honey-baked ham, is that sugary little corner. And dadgum, if I had my sheets made of that, I'd be in hog heaven. Pun intended.
Well, I've spoken with a lot of your family members who have watched you eat honey-baked ham, and time again, without fail, they comment on the state of your tongue when you get around that honey baked ham. It just tends to fall out of your mouth, and you
Yep.
seem to be uncontrollable. Your just tongue is going after wherever the nearest slice of flame-throwed brown sugar encrusted ham is. That's where your tongue leads you. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful picture of desire of honey baked ham. Are we willing to sniff out, go after that honey baked ham? Or do we just want to sit back on the sidelines and watch our friends eat the honey baked ham? Now, of course, we've stopped talking about honey baked ham, as you know, we speak in metaphors. But truly, it's just something to ponder.
No, it's true. It's and really, I feel like much like the honey baked ham, you know, you go through and you put the brown sugar on and you hit it with the torch. I mean, it's a beautiful example of what Jesus did for us. You see the ham, which, I mean, really in Jewish culture is unclean, obviously, because it's pork. And we're unclean because of our sin. And Jesus comes along and he kind of acts as that crust, that brown sugar crust. So when God looks at us, he doesn't see the ham. He doesn't see the disgusting sinner. He sees the perfect brown sugar crust, which is Jesus's righteousness. So really, honey baked ham is just, it's the best. In the words of Nacho Libre, it's the best.
You couldn't have said it better. Because when we do accept Jesus as our Savior, we are working to become like Jesus. And exactly like you said, I just want to reiterate, God sees us through the lens of holy and blameless. That's a verse in Ephesians. And it's not because our flesh is holy and blameless, but we are made and perfected through the righteousness of Christ Jesus. The crust, the brown sugar, if you will. So beautiful. So beautiful. So tell me, as we're wrapping up, what is your song of the week?
Well, my song of the week, I've really been, I go through phases, obviously. My song of the week has been anything from Fall Out Boy to Prestonwood Choir. And sometimes I like to throw it back a little bit. So my song of the week is Desperado by the Eagles. Man, it's just this beautiful slow ballad. And it's just an absolute classic. It's hard to beat the Eagles. I mean, there's a lot of bands that do beat the Eagles in my personal opinion, but this song is really just kind of close your eyes and just imagine you're on a horse in Wyoming and the Eagles are singing to you, man. It's a good one.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll have to give that one a listen on the Song of the Week collection. For me, it's The Blood by Jen Johnson and Mitch Wong. And this song says, "It's only by the blood." Speaking of Jesus, what could save us from our sins? Only the blood. You know, there's no work that we could do. There's no prayer perfection. There is a prayer, but what I'm trying to say is there's no perfect wording of a prayer that's going to save us. It's only by the blood. There's no sacrifice. We can't take to the altar a pig, a pork, a cow, the golden calf. We can't take that to save us. We can't give enough money to save us. It's only by the blood of Jesus.
Nothing but the blood, some would say.
That's what some would say. Sadly, it's not what all would say, and that's what we're here to work to do, is create a nation and a world where life can flourish and know Jesus.
That's incredible. Well, do do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up? I feel like this episode has quickly become one of my favorites. I've really had a blast today.
We have covered a lot, from Sasquatches to subscribers to honey-baked hams. And we hope you, the listener, here's what I would really challenge one of our listeners to do. If you're listening right now, I would challenge you to identify one area in your life that you need to work on. I'm not here to tell you what that area is, but as I've shared here this week, what's going on in my mind, the area in which I've needed to work on is, how am I spending my time after work? Is my time advancing the kingdom, or is my time selfish? And as I've previously mentioned before, the phrase going on in my mind is, all is vanity. What am I on this earth to do? What is the definition of having a successful life on this earth? It's not to have X amount of money. It's not to have the perfect family. It's not to have the perfect home. It's not to have the perfect job. It's to glorify the Lord. And am I compromising in any of those areas in a way that isn't glorifying the Lord? It's good to have a great family. It's good to have a great job. It's good to have a good amount of money. But is that what's going to help me honor the Lord most? These are the questions I must ask myself. And through those questions of a desire to glorify the Lord, I believe, will become more like him. We will do the things that the Lord does. Because to be like the Lord, we do like the Lord. Those are my final thoughts.
Well, look, I need to start asking you about final thoughts instead of the other way around, because I'm always like, no, man, I'm good, you know? But no, I think what you said is beautiful. It certainly takes some soul searching, if you will, definitely getting into scripture to kind of find out, you know, what's the path forward, you know, what is a conviction that maybe I'm not paying too much attention to. So it's an incredible word. And, you know, sadly, we're going to have to wrap this up, and we're going to do it again in 7 days. But first, I want to let you all know that the depth and the largesse of our love, it knows no end. And we will see you in 7 days, my lovely friends.